what happens when you try to rob a blind veteran? We're gonna find out in today's horror highlight on Fede Álvarez's horror hit Don't Breathe. We'll be taking a deep dive into how the movie uses the senses to its advantage and what makes it so effective. And just a warning that I will be talking about spoilers and stuff, so if you haven't seen this movie, I would highly suggest checking it out before popping back in here. Also, throughout this month of October, we'll be highlighting the best of the best in horror, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video for more like this. Grab your popcorn and buckle up because you're not gonna want to miss this one. So this movie dropped back in 2016, and I remember catching it in a packed theater. I left thinking it was an awesome movie, but it wasn't until I rewatched it years later that I gained even more of a respect for the movie. One of the things I love most about the movie is the simplicity of the plot, but the execution is so good. As a quick rundown, Don't Breathe follows a group of 3 Detroit thieves, Rocky, Alex, and Money. Yeah, the guy's name is Money, who break into the house of a blind veteran, played by Stephen Lang, thinking it will be an easy heist, but they quickly realize they've underestimated their target. What was supposed to be a simple robbery turns into a deadly game of cat and mouse, as the blind man proves to be far more dangerous than they anticipated. As they enter this blind veteran's house, they realize that they're in for a nightmarish challenge. He may be blind, but he still has the skills and movement of a veteran, and the movie does a brilliant job at making us sympathize with him. We see images of his past and his long-lost daughter. You truly feel bad for him, and as a man just minding his own business, especially with a disability, it's our quote-unquote protagonists that are the real villains in this case. And it really is gut-wrenching to see him watching old tapes of his daughter playing around in the backyard or whatever. It really pulls on the heartstrings, even though he's supposed to be more of the slasher of the movie, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Thieves that are preying on the weak for some cash, or so they think. Also, the idea of having a disabled veteran as our horror icon is not only super unique, but it's grounded in reality in a lot of ways that horror movies are not, and it makes it so much more effective. They try to tear gas him into staying asleep, but their tactics are useless against the military man of his caliber. However, things really turn sour when one of the robbers, Money, tries to shoot the lock off a door with a plastic water bottle, thinking it's gonna muffle the sound, which is pretty stupid. Big mistake. After getting caught, the robber tries to reason with the veteran, but it's no use, so he starts to get a little more hostile, and Stephen Lang's character easily dispatches of him and kills him on the spot, and that's one of 3 of the robbers gone within the first 30 minutes of the movie. And in dead silence, Rocky, our protagonist, and Alex are stuck in this house with him. All the doors have been locked, and what ensues is a long string of sequences where they try their hardest to navigate around their house without making a single sound, and it's a lot harder than it seems. This movie is brilliant because it's dead silent throughout the movie. Every single movement is loud and clear. It's like a pin dropping in a vacuum, building so much tension, and it's so effective, especially when there's such close proximity to the veteran. Literally, they're standing a few feet from him at a lot of the moments of the movie. This alone is what makes it amazing. It's this sort of unnerving idea of having this dangerous threat so close to you, but they can't see you, but you know that any movement and it's off with your head. It's amazing, but it's the second half of the movie where it really takes a huge daring twist. Rocky and Alex find themselves wandering in the basement trying to find a way out before they come across a really sinister sight. A woman is basically being held hostage in a glass box sort of thing. The reason for this is revealed shortly after, and it's pretty crazy and pretty creative. Down there in the basement, we have an amazing sequence where the veteran shuts off the lights and the screen turns black and white like we're watching them through night vision. We see the characters and the actors touching the environment, trying to feel their way around. They look completely scared and panicked, and it's super effective and a really creative way to build tension, considering they're now seeing what he can see, which is absolutely nothing. Not shortly after, it's revealed that the lady down there is being held hostage so she can have the veteran's baby after his daughter was killed. It's also revealed that that very hostage is the one that killed his daughter. So in a twisted table-turning sort of way, he's punishing her by forcing her to have his baby via injection of a tube. You get the gist. But because she gets away, it's Rocky who ends up taking her place. Restrained and hanging practically upside down, the veteran walks towards her with the injection, explaining his thought process, a horrifying and extremely effective scene. He whispers,
9 months. and I will give you your life back.
But before he's able to do so, he's hit in the head by Alex. Finally, they can be free. They run up the stairs and the keys, and right as Alex unlocks the door, he's shot in the back of the head, leaving only Rocky. Without hesitation, which is against a lot of horror movies, she opens the door and sprints down the street in horror without missing a beat. But the veteran sends his ravaging dog after her in an intense chase scene in a car before coming up behind her and knocking her out. He then literally drags her down the street to his house. Thank God for no pedestrians or neighbors, right? And the way he does it is like a parent dragging their kid to their room once they've been grounded. As a last-ditch effort, she grabs the security remote and turns on the alarm using the sound against him. As the alarm blares, he's struggling in pain because of the sound, not knowing where she is. Meanwhile, she hits him with a crowbar a couple of times before finally ending him. At the very end of the movie, it's revealed that he didn't actually die and that he's okay, which leads us into the next movie. There is a Don't Breathe Part 2, but it's not nearly as good, but roll end credits. So that's pretty much the synopsis of the movie, and wow, is it great. One thing to highlight is the performances. I think Stephen Lang as the veteran does a phenomenal job. He not only had that look, but the presence as well. Playing this blind but lethal man is no easy feat, and he does it effortlessly. Jane Levy as our main final girl, if you will, is also brilliant. I think horror actors in general don't really get the credit they deserve. To act scared and frightened in a convincing way is extremely tough and takes a lot of skill, just like being mad, just like being sad, every other emotion. I feel like those who convey this accurate and very convincing, scared or frightening, screaming, really pain, all that takes a lot of effort and a lot of skill too. So I don't think they get the credit they deserve, and in this movie and all horror movies, I want to give them that credit as well. The other supporting actors are also really good, but I think the main attraction is the film's style and sound editing. The film's visual style is another standout element. The use of tight, claustrophobic shots and the clever play with light and darkness enhance the overall sense of dread and unease. Every scene is carefully designed to make the viewer feel like they're trapped in a house with them, and the idea of using the senses against a person has always been such a creative idea and a really compelling one in my opinion. We've seen several other movies tackle the senses from sound to sight to touch, and this is a perfect example of that to add to the list. Having these small moments or mistakes sound like nuclear bombs is brilliant. A lot of moments like that in the movie where you're holding your breath, and that's why I always love showing this movie to people. The concept of a blind protagonist who turns the tables on his attackers is fresh and intriguing. It keeps the audience on the edge of their seat, guessing what'll happen next. Álvarez masterfully builds tension throughout the film. The use of sound, or lack thereof, adds a layer of suspense that's palpable. You can almost feel the characters feel as they try to remain silent to avoid detection. Another thing to point out is, unlike many horror movies, Don't Breathe gives depth to the characters. Rocky's desperation to escape her life of poverty, Alex's conflicted loyalty, and the blind man's dark past all add layers to the story, making it more than just a simple home invasion horror movie. This is something that a lot of movies don't take the time to do. It may not be super necessary, and it may not even be necessary at all depending on who you ask, but it just adds that little extra layer of character development in my opinion, and sometimes that's all you need in horror movies like this. Just put something at stake, make me care for the characters, or at least make me like the character so that I don't want them to die. But all in all, this is one of the best bottle horror movies out there in my opinion, and does a lot with not a huge budget. It really makes the most of its screen time. It's not super long, but it's really effective. If you're looking for a good thriller, definitely check this movie out, and check out yesterday's episode where I took a look at The Babadook, an amazing horror movie that explores grief in such a smart way. Click the little eye right now or the video on the screen to go to that one. But please be sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. While you're at it, hit the notification bell to be notified of all our horror highlights this month in October. Thank you very much for watching, and have an amazing spooky Halloween season.